We have a lot of cultural pain and suffering.
Yeah,
What's going on in the culture? How do we address the Great Reset, which is being forced through the culture? How do we address that in our culture now? I mean, you've been involved in movie making, and that's uplifting to the human spirit. I mean, everything I've seen that you produced, even hard things, uplift the human spirit. How do we get that back?
Well, so I have an introduction to young Americans, which is my favorite part of the book. And the book has been really well received by the Gen Z, Gen Alpha crowd. And the introduction to young Americans is their path out of the Great Reset. I tell them it's very simple. It's love, piety, and posterity. What do I mean by that? They need to know why they were created. You're overwhelmed with all this information, but what does it really matter? Whenever I do any project, a new book, a new movie, I write down before I write the script or the book or even a plan, I put, I was created to love God and to love my neighbor. So for young people, love God, love your neighbor. Who's the most important neighbor that we need to love as a young person? It's our parents. Love of our parents is the seed of all piety. And so the way out of the Great Reset begins with love in the family, love in the community, love toward your creator. Young people, as hard as this is in the day of the smartphone, in a world where perverse images are bombarding us constantly, preserve your moral imagination so you can experience eros, erotic love. The love that the Jews, when you read Jewish scripture, the love of God for man is always expressed through eros. And think of the Song of Solomon, right? We're adulterers, we're harlots. He loves us passionately and we betray him. So preserve the moral imagination so you can experience love in marriage the way it should be experienced.
Now, I've interviewed a lot of people. Michael Rectenwald, who wrote a book, Glenn Beck, who's written a book on the Great Reset. I have never heard that the answer to the Great Reset, although it just makes perfect sense, is love.
Love.
That's amazing.
Love. This is where now I'm getting to where the Great Reset collapses. Fall in love, get married, young people. Fall in love, get married, preserve that moral imagination. It's hard. You've fallen already. Dust yourself off, get back up. It's challenging. You know, you got that smartphone. All we had was a Sears catalog. Can I say that? Can I say that? This is true. This is true. Preserve your moral imagination, experience love, fall in love, get married, order your lives to serve your children and your community, the common good. And everything we do, our founding fathers taught us this, for our posterity. Everything our founding fathers did for our posterity. In my favorite movie, The Searchers, the old immigrant woman from Scandinavia said, "This is a hard land, Texas, but we're going to plant it. But once we plant our bones in this soil, it's going to be a wonderful place to live." This is how we need to think. We are living for our posterity. In Italy, for centuries, men and women, families planted olive trees that only their grandchildren would eat from. And this is how we are to order our life. The way out of the Great Reset is know why you were created, to love God, to love your neighbor, to fight for the common good, to get married, have children, order your life to serve your children, your community, and your posterity, and stand with the most vulnerable people in the world, because the Great Reset is raging. What we fear for us is happening. It's happening in Ukraine, Israel, in Gaza, Sudan. 1 million people are going to die this year. Nigeria, Christians are dying at an unprecedented rate. 9 out of 10 Christians martyred this year will be in Nigeria. So stand with the vulnerable at home, play checkers at the old folks' home on Wednesday nights, donate to Voice of the Martyrs or Vulnerable People Project.
It's a clash between life and death.
That's it.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back.